Yo people, in this video I want to talk about how the Game of Thrones played by politicians affects or weakens the economy in 3 simple steps. Step number 1, the economic cycle. Just like seasons, economy goes in cycles. So you have summer season, then you have winter season, then you have rains and so on and so forth. In the same way, you have a normal economic cycle followed by years of growth and then years of degrowth or recession and so on. So this keeps on going continuously, and it is almost inevitable, and it is something that needs to happen periodically, because if you have too much of summer and too less winter or rains, that's not good. That's not good for the environment, that's not good for you or any other living organism on earth. So similarly, for a healthy economy, there should be a cycle of progress, and there should be some recession, and then there should be a cycle of progress, and so on. That is the sign of a healthy economy. Unsustained, unfettered growth is not a good thing. I mean to say, if an economy grows for a period of 10 to 15 years without stopping, then the fall it's going to have is going to be really bad. It's going to impact the people really bad. So a good economy needs to have booms and busts, that is, rise and fall, periodically, maybe in a period of 3 to 5 years or 6 to 7 years and so on. So that's called the short-term economic cycle, or even called the credit cycle or the capital cycle, and so on. Step number 2, fiscal deficit. So every country, when it's in a crisis, borrows a lot of money from foreign countries, different banks, and so on and so forth. This increases the national debt, also called as fiscal deficit, during the times of crisis. But this increase in national debt helps the economy to push forward, to rise, to propel, and helps businesses to grow. And in a period of 2-3 years after the crisis, the economy, most of the economies recover. And after this recovery, they get to earn or generate surplus of capital, which can be used to repay the fiscal debt, and that's how things should work. But is that how things work? Let's find out. Step number 3, Game of Thrones. So what happens is, an economy booms, it does so well, so a lot of surplus capital is generated, and ideally the government should use that capital to pay off their debt. But in countries where the politicians are corrupt or selfish, what they do is they just, instead of paying the national debt and also increasing the interest rate so that debt gets in control. Because if you increase the interest rate, if the central bank increases the interest rate, then all the people who borrowed at low interest rate would not continue keep on borrowing, because now the interest rate is high, so they'll have to pay more. So the national debt goes up, and instead of reducing the national debt, these politicians, what they do is, if they increase the interest rate and people get in trouble because they have to pay more, and due to which the investment will be pulled out from stock markets, and a lot of things happen if the interest rate is increased. And also the country does not pay its debt back, rather it borrows more and it leaves the interest rate unchecked. So what happens? The debt balloons, and at a time like this, COVID crisis or some other crisis, the country is caught red-handed, because it's like, as long as the waves are there, it doesn't matter. But once the waves part, once the waves subside, only then will you know who's swimming naked and who's clothed. So same way, we're caught red-handed, and now the debt is so high, and we're even demanding more debt, but the yield at which the debt we get, that is, our credit rating has suffered over the past few years. So all in all, politicians, if he or she is thinking about the welfare of the country, then he must increase the interest rate when the economy is doing well, and reduce the interest rate when the economy is not doing well. And also, he or she should try to pay off some debt when the economy is doing well, when they have surplus capital, and should maybe take some leverage when the economy is not doing well. That is the best way to deal with. That is what happens in an ideal government. But if your government is corrupt, if they are only after power, they'll just do what makes people happy in the short term. They'll borrow more and more, and they'll do more and more public spending to make people feel that they are doing good for them. But in the long run, the debt will keep on piling, and that's really bad for the country. So remember, next time you vote for someone, think about how he's going to handle the economic policies and so on before you choose that candidate. That's it, folks. We have the end game. So politicians, in order to win favor of the people, in order to win the Game of Thrones, in order to win the elections, they borrow and in a way squander the country's resources instead of managing them economically. Thank you for listening.